5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, my Richies, and welcome back to another episode of the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. My name is Sarah. I'm your host, and I am so excited for today's episode. It is one that I have been chewing on for a while, both as a publicist and a normal person who has suffered from this. And I cannot wait to hear your thoughts. In fact, I think that you may find this episode about dethroning the self, finding God and purpose beyond self-obsession, to be one of the most freeing episodes you have heard in quite some time. Now, I do want to make mention for those of you who are watching video, I have copious amounts of notes, and I want to make sure that we are giving this topic its proper due. So you may see me now and time again glancing down at my notes. We've all had a moment where we found ourselves to be completely self-absorbed. My time has certainly ebbed and flowed in levels of self-obsession with an external focus. Certainly being a publicist, you are in the limelight or limelight adjacent quite often. There was absolutely a part of me in my earlier life that absolutely reveled in that attention and thought it to be equivalent to quote unquote making it in life. There is so much to be said about the pomp and circumstance of the brighter side of success, but I think it is deeply overstated and completely blown out of proportion to what truly matters in life, which is just knowing your purpose and being able to serve a greater good with that purpose, and hopefully with some talents that were tossed in there too, for you to live a life you truly love and enjoy. And I don't know about you, but over the last 5 years specifically, things have just gotten so hairy. I don't know that we can think any more about ourselves than we already are. We have completely created a cultural phenomenon where society and, gosh, I don't know how to say this without it coming, let's just rip all these band-aids off right away, right? Okay, because you either need to hear this or this is something you've learned and you understand where the pressureful tone is coming from throughout this episode. But we've created a society where the most important person in your life is supposed to be you. And that is not at all what was intended for us as a species. That is not at all what God intended for us. And it's not what brings fulfillment. We've turned self-care into self-worship, personal growth into personal obsession, and individual expression into the highest moral good. The irony is that generationally obsessed individuals are just thriving with mental health issues and believe that wellness is feeling good about themselves online. And these individuals are experiencing unprecedented rates of depression and anxiety. And maybe the problem is not that we're focused too much on what's wrong with us, but the fact that we are so focused on ourselves to begin with. Today, we are going to examine how self-obsession has become our cultural religion, how it separates us from God's design, and how to find true purpose through service to others with your talents and your God-given abilities. We're going to explore the spirituality and the psychology that kind of help to root this within ourselves, this self-obsession, and why focusing on yourself actually makes you more miserable, not less. And I'm going to share some practical steps to shift us from self-absorption to God-centered living that benefits both you and the world around you. So the self-obsession epidemic. How do we get here? We may immediately run and jump to just point all the fingers at social media platforms. And although they have done a lot of the heavy lifting, I hate to say that this self-obsession culture was something that was planted in us 80s babies. I'm sure you found yourself wanting to look exactly like Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen from Full House, or you were one of those little boys that raced every time Halloween came around to get to Kmart to get all the Power Ranger suits to keep throughout the year to be your favorite Power Ranger. We have been led to believe that there are individuals outside of us that are more special than we are due to media. Modern media has had a lot of really beautiful benefits, right? It's connected us, it's brought us lots of information that's helped us to advance. But in terms of cultural shifts, it has absolutely been the not only objective of modern media and of, I would rightly argue politics, for them to want us to be as self-centered as possible. If we just jump right into the present day and discuss social media is a mirror, and platforms have turned us into constant curators of our own image. I can't tell you how when I was little, it was so rare for you to see a mirror around you anywhere. You'd be looking at your reflection in windows or very quickly in the bathroom when you ran to go to the bathroom between classes, but there was no constant looking at yourself. This endless, just like I do it too, guys. We're not meant to stare back at ourselves this way. If we were, we'd have another set of eyes that got put on the back of our head that would come and stare at us and we could talk to it. Like, it's not natural for us to look at ourselves in this fashion. First and foremost, just neurologically, our eyes taking that in, it's unnatural. We can become entranced with and easily obsessed with our own image because it is not one that we would see often in terms of our evolutionary makeup and the way in which we've evolved as humans. We've created a generation too that just spends more and more time documenting their lives than actually living them. They are looking at themselves living their life rather than just outwardly living it. And every experience being filtered through how will this look to others, that being their first intent, is not only robbing them of an actual present life, but it is not, very deeply ingrained now within their neural networks that that is what is most important, which just continues to take us down this rabbit hole of, like, gosh, self-obsession run amok, truly run amok within our own brain patterns and the way in which our conscious and unconscious brain looks for us everywhere in everything because we have become obsessed with ourselves. Now, this is a sickening fact and one that I am probably very guilty of too. The average person checks their phone 96 times a day, but most of these checks are about seeing how others responded to their own content, not connecting with anyone else. We want to see if others like us because of what we put out there. When I was younger, you only got these kinds of interactions by truly interacting face to face with another individual. Of course, we had AOL, instant chat. Those things were very brand new, but to be honest, they were full of nothing but pedos, and it was gross and disgusting. And very quickly you learn that only creeps hang out online, and then you were a little kid and you went back to playing outside again. Like, it was just such a different time. But within that different time, I think there is the ability for a certain generation of us to help steward those younger than us to know that, like, I promise you cool stuff happens out there in the real world. It may look like everything worth paying attention to happens within this little metal box here, but it is just quite simply a very largely fabricated lie across major industries, major thought leaders, and major groups across the world that want to keep you disconnected, feeling connected, small, but obsessed with yourself so that you're not seeing what's happening around you. Quite sinister. We've also kind of put ourselves into a state and a space where, we thought that therapy was best for us, right? But we've certainly turned into a culture where therapy culture and the constant seeking of looking to find out what's wrong with us, look at introspectively ourselves, has kind of led us to a place where self-exploration has become self-obsession. Therapy was meant to help us understand ourselves so we could get better to serve others, but we've turned it into an endless navel-gazing scenario where every conversation becomes about our feelings. We're paying someone to talk to us about our feelings. It's very self-gratifying, and it does take you to a space where we've now created a culture where working on yourself has become a full-time job that never ends, keeping people perpetually focused on their inwardness rather than the outwardness around what's life happening around you. How are you interacting with it? Are you making it a better place? Or are you worried about the selfie light? Where are we at here? There's also this really deep problem of just consumerism and culture coming together. How marketing taught us that we are the center of our universe. We know what's best for us. We know what we need. We know what we want. And every single advertisement that you come across is telling us you deserve better. You should treat yourself. You're worth it. Yes, you should treat yourself. Yes, and you certainly are worth it. What it is, I'm not sure. I would gather it's not a Chanel bag if you've got debt or you don't own a home yet or you haven't seen the world to know what life is truly about outside of what is reported on your cell phone and your TV. But we've been sold the lie that happiness comes from getting what we want rather than giving what we have, being grateful, being content. And I think there are ways in which our society and the constant gimme, 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 I need has led to some spiritual consequences. And not just for the individual at play, but for all of us and the ripple effect of that. Our society has absolutely replaced God with self, and self actualization, when it could have been one of the greatest tools we had to get closer to God, has become our highest goal and replaced the ultimate purpose that should be connecting with God. And we've taken that role that God should play in our lives, the center of meaning, purpose, worth, and we've given it to ourselves. And although there is a certain measure of worth and value and self love we must have in order to properly connect with the source, the creator, God, the universe, however you look at it, however you speak with that entity and interact with it, we need to take back the righteousness we have given ourselves simply out of seeking comfort rather than looking hard choices or growth in the face. And it's been very convenient. The glorifying of ourselves has become very convenient for a lot of people in terms of morality. It's the way I want it because I want it that way and I'm entitled to want it that way. It's led to the infantilization of America, specifically in terms of grown adults putting their feelings and their emotions above what is right, above what is best for others, setting improper just habits for the children around them that are watching them every step of the way. And I do believe we are absolutely in a self-obsession crisis that, if not remedied quickly for the next generation at the very least, we will continue to see America dipping deeper and deeper down the ephemeral toilet that we call life. That phrase, follow your heart, sounds spiritual, but God warns us that the heart is deceitful above all things. We need something higher than our own desires to guide us. Tim Grover, an amazing NBA coach, two players, not like an NBA coach. I don't know. He's like a sports coach, individual coach. He's cool as hell. He says your mind needs to be stronger than your emotions if you ever wish to get anywhere in life. And I think as an adult, a really great measure of maturity, again, is whether or not you can manage your emotions. And we certainly want to follow our heart, but we want it to be coming from a place of centeredness and groundedness, not from trauma and reactivity. I think there's also continued within the spiritual consequences of what self-obsession has done to us is just it's completely isolated us from our community, and self-focus has destroyed our connection to others. Most specifically, the impetus to seek connection with others. When we're constantly looking for likes and DMs and comments and thinking that that means we've actually interacted with a person, we ourselves are losing in this interaction. When everyone is focused on their own journey, their own growth, their own needs, their own life, nobody is available to actually care for one another. No one is able to build and start weaving in those beautiful interactions of love and action and effort that create the web of community. We instead have created a society of individuals who are all waiting for someone else to save them, to understand them, to validate them, to help them, to meet their needs. But nobody is willing to do that or be that person for others, especially their children. We are finding ourselves in a place where grown adults specifically are absolutely waiting for a savior, and they are not willing to accept that savior as God. They want it to be someone that's just going to magically come into their life and clean up all the problems they've left. And that is not only a little senile, but it's extremely unlikely to happen. I'm so sorry to break it to you. You've heard the phrase, no one's coming to save you. And it's true. It's a hard pill to swallow. Life is hard. Get a helmet. And also, that helmet could be God for you. And then you can release a lot of the stress that comes with being an adult who has no control over life because you've sequestered all of that emotion to God. So you can focus on the better emotions that allow you to interact with your community, be less obsessed with yourself and your life and your well-being, and ultimately lead you to a place of compassion and care that feeds your soul too. It's kind of sickening of an interaction. Additionally, we have that loss of transcendent purpose. When personal fulfillment becomes the only goal, we've reduced the meaning of life to personal happiness and self-expression. You will find on that journey, if you haven't already, that that is not big enough to sustain a human soul. The questions of what do I want, what makes me happy are too small. God is asking you to ask yourself, how can I use my purpose and my talents to serve others? What does the world around me need? How can I help my community get better? Who in my family is struggling most and needs me now more than ever? They're beautiful questions to ask of yourself. And what will be even more gratifying is you actually taking steps towards making these actions something that you do daily, that you work into your life to step further and further away from the self-obsession. Now, the loss of transcendent purpose really hit me. And as someone who fell completely into the traps of the feminism tropes and the hustle culture, after cortisol failure and just about every other health ailment that comes with burning the candle at both ends for 20 years, chasing after a lie sold to you by society, advertisements, and marketing companies, I can tell you very safely right here and right now, the odds of you earning $500 million, becoming the next insert name here, are so slim, friend. They're so slim. And it took one of my great mentors in my head, Ed Milet, admitting out loud for the world to hear on his extremely successful podcast with $500 million in the bank, not a worry in the world, that he was taking a step back because it wasn't fulfilling him anymore. Not only was it not fulfilling him anymore, he realized that the money, the fame, the businesses, although they took care of his family financially, he was empty inside. He knew that God needed and wanted more from him personally, and he knew that that meant that he needed to stop focusing on himself and start working outwardly towards others. What struck me so deeply, and something we'll cover in the Hustle episode coming up soon, was that money and the chasing of money was most specifically what ruined his life. And as someone that at that time was literally just breaking down my body, my mind, my spirit in order to make it big, make it work, without having all the pieces of truth at hand to know the true risks I was taking on my end, without knowing the true setup and the reality of what is out there and what is available for all of us entrepreneurs. We're two totally different things. It was a very difficult pill to swallow, but it gave me the freedom of no longer chasing the hustle. It gave me the freedom to choose my purpose and my talents and refocus on where I could place them outwardly, outside of myself. How can I help others? I want to feel good about my life. I want to feel good about what I do for others. This was also a byproduct of my father passing away 6 years ago. There was a moment where instantaneously I knew that everything I'd ever done in my life up to that moment was fake, except for caring for those that I loved, being a good person, trying to make the world a better place around me. It became crystal clear real quick. I slipped back into that a little bit again, thinking that money would be the answer. Money is not the answer. Never has been, never will be. If half billionaires, 500 million in the bank, and these individuals are miserable, they're morally feeling unrequited, their heart feels empty, their soul feels unseen, that is a prison of your own making, and one that you right now can begin to unpack and get to a place to where your self-obsession no longer rules you. You're able to look at the world around you and the circumstances you have in front of you that you've created and move forward with intent and the clarity and the purpose of knowing that you cannot be the focus. Your service to others has to be the focus. Outside of spiritual traps from the self-obsession narrative and cultural phenomenon that has taken over the United States, we also have psychological traps, and these ones are deep, so buckle up. First of all, the anxiety of constant self-monitoring, how self-focus is always going to increase our mental health struggles. How and why? Because you're only thinking about yourself. It's incessant. It's madness. It's like, it's not good. It's really not good, guys. The more you focus on your own thoughts, feelings, experiences, your problems, you're going to find it's like having a hypochondriac living in your head. that relationship with your own psyche is turmoil, and it's a really great way to get yourself in the loony bin because you've just absolutely worked yourself insane. People who spend the most time rather, thinking about their own happiness are statistically the most likely to be depressed. Self-obsession is a recipe for misery, my friends. There's no way around it. And everywhere you look, you're being told the opposite, right? It's about you. We also fall into the perfectionism and the performance traps. When your identity is depending on your personal brand every minute of the day, oh, it's sickening. When you're the center of your own universe, every mistake becomes a crisis. Every criticism becomes an attack on your own worth. I can't tell you how many business owners cry to me, literally cry tears when there are people dying in Gaza, being blown up, starved to death. These people are crying to me that they didn't get the advertising placement they wanted. It was on the wrong page. Oh, we only got a $5 million client to bring us in to do that thing for them and build it out instead of like the 7 million that we wanted. Wow. Do you hear yourself? Do you hear yourself? The lack of gratitude that leads you to thinking you need to be better than everyone, you need to be performing at this rate, at this space, at this standard stop it. You're not that important. You're that important to God, but you are not that important to any other single person on this planet. Maybe your mama. Maybe. Hopefully. But I hope she cares about herself more than she cares about you, because that is life. But I hope she isn't self-obsessed. And I hope she taught you not to be self-obsessed. But more than likely, this was also passed down to you, which is another psychological trap. These generational ways of behaving get passed down. Family lineage continues to breed a legacy of what? Self-obsession. And this is the direction we're headed in. Why? Because every single person you know is obsessed with how they are viewed by others. And this is still a relatively new phenomenon. This is absolutely not something that many of us had to deal with even 10 years ago. Celebrities, for sure, have always been around that, but the normal average Joe would never have to worry about who was thinking what about them, where, when, and why, unless they saw them that morning picking up the newspaper in their underwear and their t-shirt off the front steps, right? It was a very rare occasion and typically only happened with a few individuals, not on a worldwide scale like we have today. Comparison and competition are also some psychological traps. That self-focus is going to breed envy and discontent every time because you are living life from the lens of I need this, I don't have it, rather than the gratitude of I've got everything I need. I am so overwhelmingly blessed. And when life is all about you, everyone else becomes either a threat to you and to your success or a mirror for your inadequacy. And both of those things are ugly and God does not like it. And I'll give you a little something here, a little tip. Most people don't like to be around people that are like that either. I personally am plagued with a few of these people in my life, and they drive me absolutely insane. And I have to regularly tell them about themselves and say, like, you sound so self-absorbed right now. I don't even understand what you're talking about. But social media has done a number on us, and it has turned personal growth into a competitive sport, especially for entrepreneurs, where everyone is trying to out-evolve each other. So instead of just coming together, how can we make everything better together? Instead, it's I need to be better at you than this. I need to get this advertisement. I need to get this brand deal. I need to be doing this. I need to be doing that. Oh my gosh, how dare they not get back to me at this time for this because I needed this and this. Stop. No one cares but you. I promise you, no one cares but you. You're wasting so much time and energy in caring so much. So what are we looking to just fill with this self-obsession? Because there is an inner yearning that leads to you believing in your brain that this self-obsession is filling up that hole. And that hole is God-shaped. That hole is you looking to connect with your creator. We were created for connection. We were not created for self-absorption. We were designed according to the Bible for community. And God made us to be interdependent, not independent. Just in the way in which prisoners do not do well mentally and physically within solitary confinement, we ourselves are not meant to live a life in solitude. Look at the issues we're having with incels, who are also very self-absorbed in very strange directions. Self-absorption has gone absolutely AWOL. It is tiptoed and secreted into every facet of life. Everyone you know is absorbed with themselves in some manner. But God did not make us to be an island of one. He made us to be a family unit. It's not good for us to be alone. We need to build a culture that celebrates radical individualism at the highest level, but is also letting virtue be equally as important. We want people to be amazing. We want people to reach for the stars, but we want it to also be done through the lens of making the world a better place. This was the plan that was set up before all of us, before government, consumerism, money, greed ruined everything. And a lot of us didn't come into this world, knowing maybe inherently that those things were bad, because you may be at the age where you've grown up and all you've seen and known is this self-obsession. And if that is where you find yourself, please don't worry. You can and will find your authentic way to move through life, through community, serving others, serving the higher good, living through your purpose with intent. Don't worry. It is around the corner. It is coming. And for you to be listening to shows like this in the first place already lets me know that you don't like the way you're living, that you are looking to find a smoother, more peaceful way of existing, and that you do want to help to make the world a better place. So I applaud you, and you are doing great. You got this. You truly got this. I think there's also this adage that service as spiritual discipline and how we can help others by connecting to God's heart is just one of the best things we can do for ourselves. So what does this look like? Maybe you're standing at the bus stop and you knew it was going to rain that today, so you brought an umbrella. But maybe the older woman next to you didn't, and she's getting soaked. And you move over to make sure she can get under that umbrella. That is you connecting with the goodness and love of God and sharing it with someone next to you, your community, your brothers and sisters in God. Let's be kind. Let's do butterfly effects of goodness throughout the world. Let's make this ripple effect seen and heard with our own actions by taking that energy we put inward and beginning to turn it outward so that we connect and we can be a vehicle for God's love through us and our actions with others. There's a beautiful way in which that emptiness, that God-sized hole we're trying to fill, that leads us to that self-focused living. Not only is it, sorry guys, I have a growth on my nose I have to get cut off and it's itchy. Not only is it just what I would consider almost like a hedonistic treadmill where just the self-obsession starts to take an angry, negative tone at some point, and it happens to the best of us, guys. I've seen the kindest and sweetest of souls on that self-obsession journey with a little bit of money and a little bit of success pumped in turn into absolute nightmares overnight, and it is just, it's scary. But on that hedonistic treadmill, self-gratification is never going to satisfy you. Every time that you get what you think will make you happy, you're going to need something bigger, better, different. Self-focused pleasure has no endpoint. In fact, I would almost love to categorize and hope that at some point in the future it does become categorized as such, but I would love to categorize self-obsession as an addiction. There is no difference in the dopamine response that you get from it being a porn addiction or a sex addiction or alcohol. There is just something to be said about the way those that focus on their own happiness, the way their brains fire and wire in tests. There's just so much negative reprogramming happening to that brain that truly mimics addiction, the addiction process, and the overall demise of that body, that brain, that life due to the addiction. The addiction being self-obsession. Within also just needing to get bigger, better, more every time, you are going to really hit a place where that just isn't possible anymore. And the misery that will become your existence will be so difficult to live with. Studies show that people who focus on their own happiness are less happy than those who focus on contributing to others' well-beings. That's kind of like a little duh. But I think there is something to be said about that emptiness of self-focused living and there being, in essence, a meaning of life crisis. If you don't know what your life's purpose is, if you don't know what the meaning of your life is, your obsession with yourself is going to fail you so deeply because it is absolutely never going to provide you with lifelong fulfillment. Personal fulfillment fails to provide lasting purpose time and time again. It's never going to do it for you guys. It just never is. I'm so sorry. My hair is like all over today. A life spent pursuing your own dreams and desires feels meaningful until you achieve them. And then you realize you need something bigger and better than yourself to sustain motivation. But do you know what feels beautiful on the other side of the spectrum? Serving others. The dopamine rush that comes from that, the joy and the filling of that God-sized hole getting less and less and less deep every time you interact with service for others. It does the opposite of self-obsession. It fills your cup rather than emptying it. You do find that everlasting joy that gets better and better every time you are interacting with someone in that opportunity of service with your purpose, your talents, your love, etc. The most fulfilled people throughout history have been those who've dedicated their lives to serving something greater than their own interests. And that does not have to be you becoming a nun or dedicating your life to religion, but you can take God's love and you can spread it around and make it a purpose for you to at least smile to 10 people a day. Can you smile at 10 people a day? A genuine smile. Have you ever caught someone in the grocery store and you give them a genuine smile, and before that they were almost like turned off, and then they're like, oh, who are you smiling at? And then they're like, oh, me? Oh. And then they smile back. You just made their day. You just gave them a God moment. You took them out of their life of self-obsession, in this case likely feeling sad, depressed, unseen, unloved, unworthy, limiting belief sets, all of that. You could have brought them out of that darkness a little bit with the God-given love and joy in your heart of just smiling at someone else. Stop thinking about yourself for a minute and share a smile with a stranger. It'll make you feel great. Hopefully it makes them feel great. And this is something very easy and free you can repeat throughout the day until you die. So you're welcome. There's a spiritual hunger that goes along with trying to fill that God-sized hole. The soul's need in life is to transcend. We were created to worship something infinite, something outside of ourselves. But when we worship ourselves, we are worshiping something that is finite. Why? We're all gonna die. Newsflash, your mortality is coming. It can never satisfy the longing in our hearts for that just forever love. And often self-obsessed people do get extremely restless, and they get restless because despite having everything they thought that they wanted, their world is actually crumbling around them. Their soul is crying so desperately out for someone to save them. They're crying out for a connection with others. They're crying out for a connection with their creator. And we just live in a society that has taught you that, oh, no, 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 no. It's okay. Go buy a package from a coach, a life coach. They're going to help you out, feel better about yourself. That might work for 3-4 months. Oh, and then you know what? It's almost bikini season. So let's get you one of those weird, very dangerous cleanses online to help you get into that bathing suit. And then, oh, you know what? Your car's ugly and it's old. You need to go turn it in, and you need to get a new lease on a new car right now, because all these car commercials, it's summertime, slow. They want you buying a car. Your car's ugly. You better go get a new one. That restlessness, that constant negative voice. You're not enough. You need this, or you're useless. You're a loser because you don't have that. Oh, no one's ever going to love you. It's evil, it's hateful, it's fear-based. It isn't real. It isn't based in God, and it isn't based in truth. And it doesn't have to be your reality. The more self-obsessed you are, the more negative your voice and your spirit and your heart are going to become. And if you don't find yourself in that negative space right now, and you have someone in your life who's in that negative space right now, the only thing you can do for them is just try to be a good person around them and hope that it leads them to try to be a little bit better themselves. We all know you can't lead a horse to water. Well, you can. You can. I know some stubborn horses. You can lead a horse to water. You cannot make them drink. Now, self-obsession also brings a really deep impact to your relationships, whether professional, personal, or just the one you have with yourself. Your inability to love sacrificially, gosh, man, self-obsession destroys intimacy immediately like that, because you're not worried about the other. And the whole point of loving someone is letting them know that you care for them and you're going to help them through life. And they love you and they care for you, and they're going to help you through life without taking away from their well-being of life. And a self-obsessed person just demands everyone around them to equally be as self-absorbed with them, which is one, unrealistic. 2, very unhealthy for you to ask of someone. 3, very unhealthy of them to provide you. And 4, when you're focused on getting your own needs met, you're not giving the selfless love that creates deep relationships of any kind. I think we could probably correlate the divorce rate with the rise of the individualistic culture that we find ourselves in, because marriage requires dying to yourself, not finding yourself. You are becoming 2 in 1. not 1 in 2. You feel me? There's also a really deep impact on parenting and the legacy and the way in which your children will behave moving forward. Self absorption fails the next generation. Look at the YouTube kids growing up with iPads and cell phones in their faces. They're watching things they can't discern from comedy, skit, irate person, mentally unwell person, self absorbed person. They're just taking in all these behaviors and they're interpreting them as ways in which they can behave. Children of the 80s, do you know what I saw? Gummy bear commercials, toy commercials, TV shows. And then I got to see interactions at the grocery store, the doctor's office, the playground. That's it. I wasn't taking in mentally unwell tantrums over candy or toys or watching YouTube videos of kids being groomed. Like, it's just gross. And without a parent in their life that is focused on them, children will absolutely suffer. And ultimately, they are the ones in the most danger. Children raised by self obsessed parents learn that the world revolves around them, creating a cycle of narcissism that gets worse with each generation. I think we are all aware of people within our families that generationally have been successful at passing on that narcissistic trait. Whether that self obsession started out of necessity for survival and then was unknowingly passed on to the next generation, narcissism, no matter how you slice it, is absolutely against the word of God and what we are doing and what our purpose is here and what we were created for. There's also the ability within the self obsessed culture for children that are just being raised with the expectation that they are going to be the center of attention instead of teaching children that we need them to contribute to their communities, to their reading circles, to their play groups, to their church Bible study. Like, they need to be contributing. They need to be a contributing member. They need to be mindful of their words that they spit out into the universe and affect others with. Are they doing so with the purpose of greater good? Are they serving others, or are they looking to be served? It's really sad to meet children that are self-absorbed, living a miserable life because they already are feeling completely unfulfilled in the things that they've been given, or not really given, but have absorbed from watching their parents. It's a sin. Now, there is also a community breakdown that happens. Individualism, I'm sorry, I'm having such a hard time saying that word today. Let me take a sip first. Individualism destroys the social fabric. When everyone's focused on their own journey, no one is looking around and able and available to maintain relationships with others or institutions that are helping to hold society together. We have a loneliness epidemic right now that is directly connected to the self-obsession epidemic. You can't be deeply connected to others when you are primarily connected to yourself. I think there's also this innate need for us to really take a look at reparenting ourselves, and ultimately reparenting ourselves with the purpose of repatriating to God and getting that connection back of just healing, healthiness, unconditional love in a way that's going to help you just get back to square one. And speaking of getting back to square one, what is that path back to center from self-obsession? Here are a few practical steps, right? We're just going to try very easily to just tiptoe into becoming a little less self-obsessed daily. Start your day by giving your plans to God. Before you check your phone, before you think about your schedule, spend 5 minutes asking God how he wants to use you today. God, how can I be used at your will to make the world a better place, to serve others, to use my purpose to make more good in the world than bad? There was a moment in my life where anxiety felt a lot like self-obsession, and it was robbing me of my peace. And, religious or not, if you're not religious and you don't care to really tap too much into speaking to God in your anxiety moments, I understand. But if you are a person who speaks with God, there was one very short scripture that really helped me a lot, especially early on in my reading of the Bible. And it was, God, I believe, help my unbelief. We all have that sliver, right, of unbelief in us that needs to be replaced with hope, that needs to be replaced with the trust that we find in God, that we are going to be given what we need, and that anxiety is just a waste of good time and energy. There's also a lot to be said about worry in the Bible and how it is a sin, because it ultimately is you not trusting that God has what is best for you in the plan. And you just have to be patient and sit and wait and say soon, and it's coming, and keep doing good in the world while you're waiting. You can also, like with the scripture of God, I believe, help my unbelief, I would kind of say that over and over again and ruminate on that and meditate with that. But replace self-help with God's truth. I think the new wave self-help industry has really done a lot of disservice, mainly to women. I look very forward to the continuing pop of the new age bubble and the new wave bubble. They're just grounded in a lack of culture, I think mainly by the white female community, in a way that I cannot wait to be reclaimed by the ancient people that originated these healing practices and tactics, and just taken away from the Western grip of commodification, because it's just drowned out everything to the point of just creating such confusion in the world that we really think we can help ourselves better than God's plan of what is already laid out for us. And in wanting to help ourselves so much, we may in actuality just be avoiding the challenges that were placed in front of us for us to grow through by going through. And that, although focused on you, is not self-obsession. That is you just evolving through life with the purpose and intent of getting better 1% a day. There are also really beautiful moments that you can find by just being grateful. If you need something extreme, you can think about a loved one in your life that has passed away, and you can just simply say, I'm so grateful to be alive. I'm so grateful for the air in my lungs. I'm so grateful I woke up today to be able to do X, Y, Z, which is my purpose of why I was put here, to help people with X, Y, Z. And I don't want you to commodify this. It's cool if you already do, but I really don't want you to. There's another episode coming up about that as well. The commodification of our goods, purposes, and talents. Now, where and when do we take ourselves out of self-obsession, and what does that practice actively look like? One of the quickest ways to do it is through service. And service to others can become a spiritual discipline because it keeps you thinking outside of yourself and keeps you from focusing inward. So maybe you could get a volunteering gig. Maybe there's an animal shelter in town. Maybe there is a single mother on your block and she has a hard time getting home from work in time to be able to grab her kid off the school bus. And maybe you want to offer to help that kid get off the school bus and get them into their house and hang out with them for a half hour while the mother fights traffic to get home. Whatever it is you're doing, serve, volunteer, help. It will absolutely keep you about thinking about yourself until you get to be grateful at the end of your day for making the decision to go help others and not obsess about yourself. There's also a lot of beauty in mentorship and in discipleship if you find yourself a person of faith. Investing in others' growth will absolutely make you feel so good about yourself in a way that should not be self-serving, but is a beautiful benefit of serving others. Find someone younger or less experienced than you in one of your skill sets or in your profession. Mentor them, help them. It forces you to think about their development and their well-being rather than your own, simply because you're trying to teach them how to get to where you've already been before. I think there's a lot of beauty too in anonymous giving. My family and I were the benefactors of a lot of anonymous giving when I was younger. My father was ill for the majority of my life, and we were a single income household, and a lot of our money went to helping him to survive. From the gracious giving of others, there were so many holidays that we had good meals, extra presents at Christmas time because people thought of us because we were small. And, they just put themselves in the position of my mother and father to think like, my God, they're already going through so much. I can't imagine, maybe not having enough money to provide my daughters with a good Christmas or a good birthday or this or that. But anonymous giving and serving without recognition or reward is one of the most beautiful things you can do for yourself and the others simultaneously. Whether it's helping a turtle to cross a busy highway and just putting yourself in a little bit of peril for a second to grab it from the road and thanking everyone who stopped to let you to do so. Maybe it is helping a lost child in the supermarket to find their mother. Maybe it is you helping a tourist to find their way because they're lost on vacation. Maybe you have money to give or time or resources in ways that no one will ever know about. It's not only breaking the addiction of praise and validation from others for doing good things. It also helps you to reaffirm that you, like everyone around you, are equally special and everyone deserves love, attention, and admiration time and time again. Also, it's important to remember that the goal is to serve God's purposes, not to build your reputation or to feel good about yourself. You're taking the purpose, the talents, and what you were given from God to use in the effort of helping others outside of yourself. I really want to give you just a few practical daily habits beyond those three. 1, social media and phone boundaries. Get serious with them. Unfollow people that make you feel bad about yourself or make you feel like you need to be more self-absorbed with your looks, etc., etc. Completely block and remove anyone from your life that does not help you to get better. If they are also self-absorbed, if they love you being self-absorbed so they can stay self-absorbed, stop being around them, at least for now, until you are in a stronger place to be able to show them that you've changed, so maybe they'll change along with you too. Conversation practices. Learn to focus on others in dialogue. It's really easy. Having a conversation about others. How was your day? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that happened. How did that make you feel when they said that? Goodness. Well, I hope next time you'll be able to find a little bit of reserve in yourself to not engage because they were having a bad day. And, now you're feeling so badly about it after. Blah, 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 blah. Have conversations with others and talk about them. Don't be waiting for that moment to be like, oh, yeah, me. Well, when that happened to me, blah, 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 blah. No one likes a one-upper. They're so annoying. One-uppers, you are the most self-obsessed. We see you. We don't like hearing you and we feel you, but come on, let's grow and evolve. Also, financial generosity, using money to serve others rather than yourself, as we just said above. That anonymous giving is key and so huge. Whether you're doing it to an organization, helping someone out with a little envelope of cash on their doorstep because they're going to be a little low on gas money this week. Maybe it's buying a mom's child a present for their birthday that they can't afford. Practice buying things for others without expecting anything in return. Maybe you're in the line at Starbucks. Pay ahead for the 2 cars behind you. It's so easy and it's so good and it's so rewarding to do these things. Now, in closing, because I could go on and on and on, but we're already at 50 minutes here. I had about, 8 or 9 more points here that we are going to get into, but I'm going to give you a call to action for your next step. Finally, the paradox of self-denial. Finding yourself by losing yourself seems antithetical, but hear me out. I think we're aware now that service leads to fulfillment. Jesus said, whoever loses their life will find it. The path to real satisfaction runs through self-sacrifice, not self-actualization. The most alive you will ever feel is when you're pouring yourself out rather than protecting yourself from discomfort, even in moments of strife, adversity, challenges. True freedom is liberating from the prison of self-obsession and taking yourself out of the non-reality that self-obsession forms around you. When you stop making everything about yourself, you're free to enjoy life without constantly monitoring your own experience in second-person point of view. And the burden of being the center of your own universe is heavier than the yoke of serving others. And in this, I promise you, you will live if you step away from social media for just a bit. You will live if your follower count goes down. You will live if no one likes your post for the day. But I guarantee you, you will continue to die inside if you don't connect with others. If you don't find ways to heal that God-shaped hole within your soul that needs to feel the everlasting connection of authenticity, undeniable truths, and literal love. The undeniable definition of love. It all comes from this place of lack of self-obsession. All right, so what are you going to do to move ahead 1% in this week regarding your self-obsession? I don't want you to wait. I want you to start today. And your next step, whether you feel ready to or not, is to go find someone to serve. Whether it's your neighbor, is trash day coming up? You see her struggling to take the trash out to the curb, 85-year-old Biddy, go help her. Do you have a friend whose child is struggling with her math and you know that your friend has got a jillion other things to do? Go help that kid with her math. Find someone to serve today. It could take you 2 seconds. It can take you 2 hours. but I guarantee you it will be more rewarding than any number of hours you have spent staring in your cell phone, thinking about yourself, and worrying what others think about you. Self-obsession is a lie. It is an absolute health epidemic, and it is a crisis that we can overcome together by connecting with our purpose, serving others, and ultimately our relationship with God. I hope this has been helpful. If you have anyone in your life that finds himself in this space of just wanting to disconnect from social media, wanting to worry less about themselves, wanting to focus more on others and the serving and betterment of their community, their families, and the world around them, please send them this episode. I do absolutely no advertising whatsoever. I refuse to give my hard-earned coins to the behemoths that be in power. They got enough money. This is a movement of the people. If you find yourself loving the content I'm creating, it would mean the world to me for you to share it, to rate it, to review it, to comment it. I do this, and my husband spend hours editing all of my podcasts for free. We make no money off of this yet, and it means so much to me for you to just share this information with others. My goal is to help make the world a better place to live in. I want all of us to feel a little more comfortable to do the things that we've been told are just no longer the way life is. They're wrong. It's all a lie. A lie you knew to be a lie, but didn't know how to move away from. And episode by episode, day by day, we're going to grow 1% stronger towards our more authentic selves, living a life we're proud of, serving the community we live in, and ultimately making the world a better place. My Richies, as always, it is an absolute pleasure to have your time and attention, and I hope that you make life rich.